The refugee transport shuddered as it passed through the checkpoint, and Dr. Amara West pressed her forehead against the cold window. Behind them, the Centauri colonies burned. She could still see the orange glow against the black of space. 3 worlds dying at once, 17 star systems in 2 years. That was the Hive Collective's record. 17 civilizations reduced to ash and salvage. The pattern never changed. They arrived in overwhelming numbers, deployed their bioengineered soldiers, and stripped every valuable resource within weeks. Then they moved on, leaving nothing but graves and empty cities. Amara clutched her datapad tighter. She had studied every battle, every defeat, every desperate last stand. The numbers told a story that terrified her. The Hive was not slowing down. If anything, they were accelerating. The transport docked at Haven Station, a massive structure that now housed refugees from a dozen fallen worlds. Amara barely noticed the crowds as she pushed through toward the council chambers. She had requested this meeting 3 times. They had finally agreed to see her. The Galactic Council chamber was circular, with representatives from 40 species seated in elevated positions. Amara stood in the center, feeling very small and very human. The council speaker, a tall being with crystalline skin, gestured for her to begin. The Hive Collective will reach the Outer Rim colonies within 6 weeks, Amara said, activating her holographic display. They follow a predictable pattern. Systems with 3 or more inhabited worlds. High resource concentration. Minimal military resistance. A reptilian representative hissed. We know their pattern, human. What we do not know is how to stop them. They adapt to every weapon we use. Our fleets are destroyed before they can mount effective resistance. Amara nodded. That's because you fight them on their terms. Massed fleet actions. Conventional warfare. The Hive has perfected that style of combat over centuries. They want you to meet them head-on, and what do you suggest? The crystalline speaker's tone was skeptical. That we hide? Surrender? I suggest we learn from species who have fought impossible odds before. Amara pulled up historical data from Earth. Guerrilla tactics. Asymmetric warfare. Make every victory cost them more than it's worth. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. A floating jellyfish-like being pulsed with bioluminescent disapproval. The human military consists of exploration vessels and system defense platforms. You have 1 significant warship in this entire sector. What could you possibly teach us about warfare? Amara felt her jaw tighten. That 1 warship has volunteered to help. The UHSV Defiant is en route to 1 ship. The reptilian cut her off with a laugh that sounded like rocks grinding. The Hive sends hundreds. Your offer is appreciated but meaningless. The speaker raised a crystalline hand for silence. Dr. West, the Council recognizes humanity's courage. But courage without strength is merely another word for suicide. We cannot waste resources on symbolic gestures. This isn't symbolic, Amara insisted. The Defiant was designed for deep space crisis response. Its crew has trained for exactly this kind of enough. The speaker's voice rang with finality. The Council will debate our response to the Hive threat. You are dismissed. Amara wanted to argue to make them understand, but the guards were already moving toward her. She gathered her datapad and left, her hands shaking with frustration. In the corridor outside, she nearly collided with Ambassador Chun, an elderly human who served as Earth's representative. He steadied her with a gentle hand. They won't listen, Amara said bitterly. They're afraid, Chun replied. Fear makes people stupid. They see the Hive as inevitable, so they're already preparing to surrender. The Outer Rim colonies have 400,000 people. Human, yes, but also others who settled there. Refugees from previous Hive attacks. If the Council abandons them, the Council has already abandoned them, Chun said quietly. But Earth hasn't. The Defiant is still going. Amara looked at him. 1 ship against the entire Hive fleet? 1 ship crewed by stubborn humans who don't know when they're beaten. Chun smiled sadly. It's all we have. So it will have to be enough. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She stood in the observation deck of her assigned quarters staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Defiant was burning hard toward an impossible battle. Somewhere out there, the Hive fleet was advancing like a metal tide, her datapad chimed. New information from long-range sensors. Her breath caught as she read the report. The Hive fleet had changed course. They were moving faster now, heading directly toward the scattered human settlements of the Outer Rim. Intelligence estimated 312 vessels. Troop carriers, capital ships, biofactories capable of producing millions of soldiers and moving to intercept them. One single human warship. Amara pulled up everything she could find about the Defiant. Experimental design. Crew of 400. Commanded by Captain Owen Rivers, a veteran of the Europa Resource Wars, the ship had never seen real combat. It was designed for exploration and rescue operations, not warfare, but the files also showed something else. The Defiant's weapons systems were modular. Its defensive grid used unpredictable harmonics. Its tactical doctrine emphasized adaptation over raw power. Someone had designed this ship to fight smart, not hard. Maybe, Amara thought, the Council was wrong. Maybe courage with intelligence was something else entirely? Maybe one ship could make a difference. If it was the right ship with the right crew. She began compiling all her research on Hive tactics, their adaptation patterns, their strategic weaknesses. It wasn't much, but it was something. She would transmit it to the Defiant. Give them every advantage she could. The stars looked different now. Not cold and distant, but full of possibility. Somewhere out there, humans were racing toward a battle they couldn't win, but humans had never been good at accepting the impossible. 4 days from the Outer Rim, and the crew of the USSV Defiant lived in a state of controlled chaos. Every system was being tested, retested, and modified. Captain Owen Rivers watched his people work with something close to pride. They knew the odds. They came anyway. Owen walked through the engineering section, where Chief Tomas Reed had essentially torn apart 3 weapon systems to rebuild them into something new. Sparks flew from an open panel as 2 technicians argued about power distribution. "Tell me something good, Tomas," Owen said. The chief looked up, grease smeared across his bald head. "Good is relative, Captain. We've got the railguns firing 20% faster, but that's stolen power from the shield generators. Your choice which way we lean? Can we switch between configurations quickly?" "Define quickly. Mid-battle." Tomas laughed, then realized Owen was serious. "You want adaptive weapons loadouts during active combat? That's insane. The Hive adapts to whatever we hit them with," Owen said. "So we need to adapt faster." "How long?" "Give me 2 days and I'll give you a system that'll probably work 60% of the time. Make it 70 and you have a deal." Owen continued his rounds. The Defiant was not like other warships. Most combat vessels were built around a single tactical doctrine, refined and perfected. The Defiant was built around a question: what if we could change our doctrine every 5 minutes? In the Combat Information Center, First Officer Lieutenant Diana Cross was running the crew through their 8th simulation of the day. On the screens, virtual Hive ships swarmed around a representation of the Defiant. The simulation ended with their ship exploded. "Again," Diana ordered. "Ma'am, we've run this 30 times, a young ensign said. "We keep losing." "Then we'll run it 30 more until we stop losing," Diana replied. She noticed Owen and straightened. "Captain." "Let them rest," Owen said. 10 minutes. The crew gratefully stepped away from their stations. Diana approached Owen, her expression troubled. "Sir, the simulations are based on observed Hive tactics. We can't beat them in a straight fight. The numbers don't work." "Then we don't fight straight," Owen said. He pulled up a star chart. "The Threshold Nebula? Dense particle clouds, magnetic interference, unstable gravity wells from dead stars. Perfect place for an ambush." "Or a tomb," Diana countered. "Sir, I need to ask, what's the actual objective here? We can't stop 300 ships. We can't save the colonies. So what are we really doing?" Owen was quiet for a moment. "We're teaching them something." "Teaching who?" "The Hive?" "Everyone." Owen zoomed in on the tactical display. The Galactic Council thinks the hive is unstoppable. Every species they've conquered thought the same thing. But nobody has actually tried to make victory expensive. They've just tried to win, and when that failed, they surrendered. So we're making a statement? We're making them bleed, Owen corrected. Every hive ship we destroy is one less they can throw at the next target. Every tactic we prove works gets shared with every human vessel in range. We might die, but the data survives. And the next crew fights smarter. Diana processed this. You want to turn us into a teaching moment. I want to turn us into a problem they can't ignore. Owen pulled up his service record from the Europa Resource Wars. I fought in mining tunnels against corporate soldiers who outnumbered us 50-1. We couldn't win battles, so we made battles too expensive to fight. Eventually they left because holding Europa cost more than it was worth. The hive doesn't think like that. They're driven by expansion. Everything thinks about cost, Owen said. Even if it's just biological imperative. Make the cost high enough, and even the hive will recalculate. An alert chimed. Communications Officer Harris called out, Captain, we're receiving a data package from Haven Station. It's from Dr. Amara West, the researcher who briefed the Council. Owen accessed the files. Detailed analysis of every hive battle for the past 2 years. Adaptation patterns. Response times. Tactical preferences. It was a gold mine of intelligence. Get this to Tomas and Diana immediately, Owen ordered. I want our simulations updated with this data. There's a personal message attached, Harris added. Owen opened it. Amara's face appeared, tired but determined. Captain Rivers, I know what the Council said. I know what the odds look like. But I've studied the hive for 2 years and I found something. They're perfect at what they do, which means they're inflexible. They've won so many times that they've stopped innovating. They have doctrine, not imagination. You have both. Use it. Make them remember why adaptation beats perfection. The message ended. Owen smiled slightly. Send a reply. Thank Dr. West for her research. Tell her we'll put it to good use. The next 2 days blurred together. The crew worked 18-hour shifts. Tomas built his adaptive weapon system. Diana drilled the crew on 100 different tactical scenarios. Medical Officer Dr. Henry Park prepared emergency STIM protocols for high-gravity combat maneuvers. And Owen planned. Every asteroid in the Threshold Nebula became a potential weapon. Every gravity well became a slingshot or a trap. The hive expected conventional warfare. He would give them anything but, on the final day before intercept, Owen addressed the crew over the ship-wide intercom. 400 faces looked up from their stations, waiting. You all know what we're facing, Owen said. The Hive Collective has destroyed 17 civilizations. They've never been stopped. They've never been slowed. They expect us to either run or die quickly. He paused. I say we teach them a new expectation. We show them that humans don't break easy. That we fight smart. That every meter of space they take from us costs them blood and ships and time. We might not win this battle, but we'll make sure they remember it. The crew didn't cheer. They just nodded and returned to work. That was better than cheering. Lieutenant Harris spoke up. Captain, long-range sensors have the Hive fleet. 312 vessels advancing in standard formation. They'll reach the colonies in 48 hours. And they'll reach us in 12, Owen said. All hands, battle stations. Let's go introduce ourselves. The Hive fleet looked like a storm made of metal and malice. Owen watched them on the main display, 300 ships moving in perfect geometric formation. They passed the Defiance position like a river ignoring a single stone. They're not even acknowledging us, Diana said, disbelief in her voice. They don't see us as a threat, Owen replied. Let's fix that. Helm, bring us about. Target those 3 scout ships on the southern flank. The Defiant pivoted with surprising grace for a ship its size. The railguns spun up, magnetic coils humming with contained violence. 3 shots, 3 direct hits. The Hive scouts exploded in brief flowers of fire and debris. For a moment, nothing happened. The vast fleet continued its advance toward the distant colonies. Then, as if a single mind controlled them all, 50 ships peeled away from the main formation. "Guess they noticed," Tomas said from engineering. The communication channels crackled. A voice that sounded like metal scraping on metal filled the bridge. It spoke in 17 languages simultaneously, each one perfectly translated. Vessel designated UHSV Defiant. You have attacked the Hive Collective. Surrender your ship and crew for integration. Resistance is inefficient. Compliance is mandatory. Owen leaned forward in his chair. "This is Captain Owen Rivers. I have a counterproposal. Turn your fleet around and leave human space. Refuse and we'll show you just how inefficient we can be." There was a pause. The Hive voice returned, and for the first time in recorded history, it sounded almost curious. "You are one vessel. We are many. Your threat is mathematically impossible." "Then you won't mind if we test that math," Owen said. He cut the channel. "All hands, this is it. Helm, take us into the nebula." Full burn, the Defiant shot forward as the 50 Hive ships accelerated to intercept. Plasma bolts lit up the space behind them, missing by meters as the Defiant weaved and dodged. They plunged into the thick particle clouds of the Threshold Nebula, and the sensors immediately began screaming with interference. "They're following us in," Diana reported. "All 50 ships?" "Good," Owen said. "Arya, activate our surprise." The ship's AI responded with what almost sounded like satisfaction. "Deploying autonomous mines. Current count, 200 units." The mines weren't explosive. Tomas had reprogrammed them from mining equipment, turning them into something far more insidious. As the Hive ships pursued through the nebula, the small devices attached themselves to hulls and began broadcasting false sensor data on the Hive command ship. Chaos erupted. Their sensors showed friendly vessels everywhere, overlapping, colliding, multiplying. The bioengineered pilots, trained for perfect coordination, suddenly received contradictory data. Ship 47 appeared to be Ship 19. Ship 23 appeared to be in 3 places at once. The Hive ships began firing on each other. Owen watched the confusion unfold on his tactical display. "Now, all weapons, target the command nodes only. Precision shots." The Defiant emerged from a particle cloud like a shark from murky water. Its railguns spoke with mechanical precision, each shot aimed not at hulls or engines, but at the small communication clusters that linked each ship to the Hive collective consciousness. Without those nodes, the ships were blind. They could still fight, but they couldn't coordinate. And coordination was everything to the Hive. In 4 minutes, 20 Hive ships were destroyed. Another 15 were crippled, drifting with dead command systems. The remaining vessels broke off and retreated to the main fleet, their perfect formation shattered. "Damage report," Owen called out. "Minor scoring on the forward hull," Tomas replied. "Shields held. We're at 97% combat effectiveness." Diana stared at the tactical display. "Sir, we just took on 50 ships and won." "We took on 50 confused ships and survived," Owen corrected. "They won't fall for that trick twice." "Arya, are you recording all of this?" "Every sensor reading, every tactical decision, every weapon configuration," the AI confirmed. "Data package is ready for transmission." "Send it to every human vessel in range," Owen ordered. "And to Dr. West at Haven Station. Let them learn from this." The communication channels filled with a new voice. The Hive overmind itself, no longer using translations, but speaking in a cold, calculated tone that every species could somehow understand. Vessel Defiant. "You are designated Priority Threat Alpha. This classification has been assigned to only 3 enemies in Hive history. All previous threats were eliminated." Owen smiled grimly. "We're honored. But here's something your overminds should calculate. Every ship you send after us is 1 less ship attacking the colonies. Every hour you waste on us is another hour the civilians evacuate. We're not trying to win. We're trying to cost you time and resources." There was a long silence. Then the entire hive fleet began to shift. Ships that had been advancing on the colonies slowed and changed course. More and more vessels oriented toward the Defiant's position. Diana's face went pale. "Captain, they're committing over 100 ships to our position. They're taking the bait." "Good," Owen said quietly. "That's 100 ships not killing civilians. Helm, plot a course through the densest parts of the nebula. We're going to make them chase us through every asteroid field and gravity well in this sector." "Sir," a young ensign said, "we can't fight that many ships." "We don't have to fight them," Owen replied. "We just have to make them so angry they can't ignore us. We're not an enemy warship. We're a problem that needs solving. And the hive hates unsolved problems." The Defiant banked hard, diving deeper into the nebula. Behind them, a swarm of hive ships followed. Their perfect formation abandoned in favor of a single goal: destroy the human vessel that dared to resist. On Haven Station, Dr. Amara West received the data package and watched the battle recording with tears streaming down her face. One ship, 400 humans. And they had just bloodied the nose of an empire that had conquered 17 civilizations. In the Galactic Council chambers, ambassadors watched the same recordings in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. The hive had been hurt. And somewhere in the Threshold Nebula, Captain Owen Rivers prepared for the real battle to begin, knowing that he had already won the only victory that mattered. He had made the hive care. He had made them commit resources. He had made them angry. Now he just had to survive what came next. Hour 9 of the running battle, and the Defiant was showing its scars. Hull breaches sealed with emergency foam. Shield generators cycling at dangerous temperatures. The crew running on stim injections and pure stubborn will. Owen gripped his chair as the ship rolled through another impossible maneuver. On the tactical display, 120 hive ships pursued them through the nebula like a pack of wolves chasing a wounded deer. Except this deer had teeth and refused to die quietly. "Thomas, tell me you have something," Owen called out. "Switching weapons configuration now," the chief replied. "We're going from kinetic to energy weapons. The hive adapted to our railguns about an hour ago. Let's see how they like mining lasers." The Defiant's repurposed industrial lasers carved through a hive cruiser that ventured too close. The ship split in half, its bio-adaptive armor worthless against the different frequency. 3 more ships fell before the hive adjusted their defenses again. Diana monitored the pursuit pattern. They're learning faster now. Each adaptation takes them less time than the last. "Then we adapt faster," Owen said. He pulled up a 3-dimensional map of the nebula. There, that debris field from the old colony ship graveyard. "Helm, set course." "Sir, those wrecks are unstable. One wrong move and we'll trigger a chain reaction." "I'm counting on it." The Defiant wove through massive derelict ships, centuries-old hulks that had died in some forgotten conflict. The hive fleet followed, their sensors tracking the human vessel with predatory focus. They didn't notice when the Defiant fired its mining charges into the structural weak points of the largest. Rex. Owen waited until 30 hive ships were deep in the graveyard. Now the charges detonated. Ancient ships collapsed on themselves, creating a cascade of debris and explosive decompression. Chunks of metal the size of buildings tumbled through space, crushing and battering the hive vessels. 12 ships destroyed. Another 8 damaged, but the hive kept coming. The remaining ships simply plowed through the debris, accepting losses as acceptable cost. Their formation tightened, cutting off escape routes. "They're boxing us in," Diana said. 3 sides blocked. "They're herding us toward that gravity well." Owen studied the tactical situation. The gravity well was from a collapsed star, its pull strong enough to tear apart any ship that got too close. It was a death trap, which meant the hive wouldn't expect them to dive straight into it. "Medical, prepare the crew for high-gravity maneuvers," Owen ordered. "We're about to pull forces that human bodies weren't designed for." Dr. Henry Park's voice came over the intercom, strained but steady. "Stim protocols active. Everyone's dosed. We'll have about 6 minutes before people start passing out." Then we better make it quick. Helm, full burn toward that gravity well. We're going to slingshot around it? The helmsman, a young woman named Rodriguez, actually laughed. So that's called a whipsaw maneuver. I've only ever done it in simulations. The margin for error is 0.03%. Good thing you're the best pilot I have, Owen said. Take us in. The Defiant accelerated toward the invisible monster lurking in space. Behind them, the hive ships pursued, confident their prey was cornered. Then the Defiant hit the gravity well's influence. The ship screamed. Metal groaned. The crew felt their bodies press into their seats with crushing force. Owen's vision tunneled, but he kept his eyes on the tactical display. The ship arced around the gravity well in a trajectory that would have been impossible under normal thrust. They emerged on the other side at nearly twice their previous speed, shooting past the hive fleet that was still trying to decelerate before hitting the gravity trap themselves. 11 hive ships couldn't break in time. The gravity well claimed them, crushing the vessels into atomic debris. Status report, Owen gasped, fighting to breathe normally again. 3 crew members unconscious, Dr. Park reported. Everyone else is functional, barely. Weapons at 60%, Tomas added. We've cycled through every configuration twice. The hive is adapting to everything we throw at them. Arya's voice cut through the bridge chatter. Captain, I have analyzed the hive adaptation patterns. They are learning, but they follow predictable algorithmic responses. I can anticipate their next 3 defensive adjustments. Diana looked up sharply. Our AI is outthinking their overmind? Their overmind is perfect at what it does, Arya explained, which means it always chooses the optimal response. Optimal responses are predictable. I am designed to learn and improvise. Predictable patterns are exploitable. Owen felt hope flicker in his chest. Arya, can you feed tactical predictions to our weapon systems? Already implemented. Recommend switching to particle accelerators in 43 seconds, before they adapt to current laser frequency. The battle continued, but now the Defiant was dancing half a step ahead of the hive's adaptations. Arya predicted. Thomas switched configurations. The crew executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. 16 hours into the running battle, the Defiant had destroyed another 30 hive ships, but the cost was mounting. Life support was failing on 2 decks. The shield generators were at 40%. And the crew was running on fumes and determination. Then something changed. The hive ships suddenly broke off their attack pattern. All of them, simultaneously, pulled back to a holding position. The communication channels crackled. All hive units returned to primary formation. It was the Overmind's voice, but different somehow. Less certain. Vessel Defiant has been reclassified. New tactical assessment required. Diana checked long-range sensors. Captain, the entire fleet is pulling back from the colonies. They're recalling every ship to deal with us. Owen felt exhaustion and triumph war in his chest. We did it. They're committing everything. Sir, Rodriguez said quietly, 200 ships are forming up around our position. We can't fight that many. We don't have to fight them, Owen replied. He opened a channel to the hive overmind. This is Captain Rivers. You've now dedicated your entire fleet to destroying 1 human ship. Every hour you spend on us is another hour the Outer Rim colonies evacuate. Every ship you lose to us weakens your advance. I'm giving you a choice. Turn around and leave human space, or we continue this dance until one of us runs out of tricks. The response took longer than expected. When it came, the Overmind's voice carried something that might have been the machine equivalent of frustration. You cannot win? Don't have to, Owen said. Just have to make winning cost more than it's worth. Your move. The hive fleet held position, and for the first time in its conquest, the unstoppable tide hesitated. Inside the hive flagship, something unprecedented occurred. The Overmind ran its 10,000th simulation of destroying the human vessel, and for the 10,000th time, the results showed victory. But the cost analysis made the Overmind hesitate. Witness dash of dash patterns. A Navigator cast member observed this hesitation through the neural connection all hive beings shared. In 2 years of conquest, the Overmind had never paused, never reconsidered, never questioned if victory might be Pyrrhic. The calculations scrolled through the collective consciousness. Destroying the Defiant required committing the entire fleet. Time estimated, 4 to 6 hours. Projected losses, between 40 and 70 ships, depending on human tactical adaptation rate. Resource cost, unacceptable for a single enemy vessel. Alternative calculation, ignore the Defiant. Proceed to Outer Rim colonies. Problem. Human ship would harass supply lines, destroy support vessels, transmit tactical data to other human forces. Projected harassment duration, indefinite. Cost, potentially higher than direct engagement, witness of patterns. Experience something its kind called a discontinuity. A thought that did not fit the pattern. The hive conquered through overwhelming force. Every enemy either surrendered or was crushed. The doctrine had worked for 300 years across 100 worlds, but this human ship had introduced a variable. The hive had never encountered an enemy that fought not to win, but to make victory too expensive to pursue on the Defiant's bridge. Owen gathered his exhausted command staff. Diana looked like she might collapse. Tomas had burns on both arms from emergency repairs. Dr. Park was administering stims to himself just to stay conscious. Status, Owen said. Weapon systems are at 30%, Tomas reported. We've burned through most of our ammunition and power reserves. I can give you maybe 2 more configuration changes before we're down to harsh language and throwing wrenches. Hull integrity is compromised in 7 sections, Diana added. Life support is failing on 3 decks. We've evacuated those areas, but we're running out of ship. Casualties? Owen asked quietly. 47 dead, Dr. Park said, his voice hollow. Another 90 wounded, 30 of those critical. We're past the point where stims help. The crew needs rest or they'll start making fatal mistakes. Owen looked at the tactical display. 200 hive ships surrounded them in a perfect sphere. Waiting, calculating. For 16 hours, the Defiant had danced on the edge of destruction. Now the music was ending. They're not attacking, Diana observed. Why aren't they attacking? Because they're doing the math, Owen said. He pulled up the data Arya had been compiling. Look at this. Every engagement, the hive loses ships at a rate of 3 to 1 in our favor. They have 200 ships. We'd take maybe 60 with us before we died. That's nearly 1/5 of their entire fleet. That's still us dying, Tomas pointed out. Yes, Owen agreed. But it's also them learning something they've never had to consider before. That conquest has a price tag. The communication channel crackled. The Overmind's voice but changed somehow. Less mechanical. Almost thoughtful. Captain Rivers. The Hive Collective offers negotiation. Cease hostilities. Accept safe passage from this sector. In exchange, humanity agrees to neutrality in Hive expansion efforts. The bridge went silent. Diana found her voice first. They're offering to let us go? They want us out of the way without paying the cost to remove us, Owen said. He stood pacing the bridge. Every eye was on him. Rodriguez spoke up. Sir, we could take it. We've done our part. The colonies have been evacuating for 16 hours. We could survive this. Owen thought about the 47 crew members who wouldn't survive. About the 90 wounded who might die if the battle continued. About the responsibility of command and the weight of sending people to die for a point. Then he thought about the 17 civilizations the Hive had crushed. About Dr. Amara West and her desperate hope that someone would finally resist. About every species that had calculated the odds and chosen surrender. He opened a channel to the Overmind. Here's my counteroffer, Owen said. You turn your fleet around. You leave human space completely. Every world, every colony, every station, and you never come back. That is unacceptable, the Overmind replied. We offer you survival. You offer us retreat. The mathematics do not balance. Then let me explain the new mathematics, Owen said. Right now, you're calculating the cost of destroying us. 40 to 70 ships. But that's not the real cost. The real cost is what happens after. He pulled up the data packages Arya had been transmitting. For 16 hours, we've been broadcasting every tactic, every trick, every adaptation to every human vessel in range. Right now, there are 50 human ships studying this battle, learning how to hurt you. By next month, there will be 500 ships using these tactics. By next year, 5,000. Owen leaned forward. You can destroy us, but you can't destroy the idea we've proven. That the hive can bleed. That your conquest can be made too expensive to continue. Every system you attack from now on will resist like we did. Every colony will fight like we fought. You'll win, but you'll pay for every meter of space. Diana was staring at him. Tomas had stopped pretending to work on repairs. The entire bridge crew listened as their captain redefined the battlefield. So here's the real calculation, Owen continued. You can spend the next 4 hours destroying us and lose 60 ships doing it. Then spend the next decade fighting humans who learn from our example, losing hundreds more ships. Or you can leave now, cut your losses, and find easier prey elsewhere. The silence stretched. Somewhere in the Hive flagship, witness of patterns felt the overmind process this new data. The calculations ran again, but with different parameters. Not just immediate cost, but long-term attrition. Not just one battle, but an endless series of costly victories against an enemy that refused to accept defeat, the Overmind spoke. This is not how conquest works. It is now, Owen said. We changed the rules. Adapt or leave. You are one ship. We are an empire. We're an idea, Owen corrected. And you can't kill those with plasma cannons. Your move, Overmind, choose. The Hive fleet began to move. For one heart-stopping moment, Owen thought they were attacking. Then the formation shifted. Ships turning away from the Defiant, away from human space. Their vectors pointing toward empty sectors. They're withdrawing, Diana whispered. As if saying it too loud might break the spell, on the long-range sensors, the massive fleet began its departure. Slow at first, then accelerating. 200 ships that had been seconds from delivering annihilation were leaving. Not defeated, but calculating that victory cost more than the prize was worth, Rodriguez let out a shaky laugh. We did it. Holy hell, we actually did it. The bridge should have erupted in celebration. Instead, exhaustion crashed over the crew like a wave. People slumped in their chairs. Some cried. Others just stared at their screens, unable to process survival. Owen sat down heavily in his captain's chair. Dr. Park, casualty count. 47 confirmed dead, Park replied, his voice thick. 93 wounded. 16 of the critical cases might not make it without proper medical facilities. 47. Owen thought about each name, each face. People who had trusted him, followed his orders, and paid the ultimate price for a gamble that could have failed. He had won the battle, but the cost sat heavy on his chest like a physical weight. Tomas, can we make it to the nearest human station? If we don't sneeze too hard, maybe, the chief said. We're running on backup power, half our systems are fried, and we've got hull breaches in places we didn't even know could breach. But yeah, we'll make it. Owen opened ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. The Hive fleet is withdrawing from human space. We survived. You all did your duty and then some. Get some rest. We're going home. The response was muted. Relief mixed with grief mixed with disbelief. Survivors helping the wounded. Damage control teams still working. Nobody quite sure if they were allowed to feel victorious when so many hadn't made it. 3 days later, the Defiant limped into Haven Station, trailing debris and running on emergency power. The docking bay erupted in activity. Medical teams rushed aboard. Engineers stared at the damaged hull with professional horror. And Dr. Amara West waited at the airlock with tears streaming down her face. Owen was the last to leave the ship, as was tradition. He walked through corridors scarred by battle, past empty crew quarters that would never be filled again. In the cargo bay, body bags waited for transport. 47 of them. Amara met him at the airlock. She started to speak to thank him, but he held up a hand. "Not yet," Owen said quietly. "First we honor the dead." The memorial service was held in Haven Station's largest observation deck with a view of the stars. Representatives from a dozen species attended. The Galactic Council sent an official delegation. Owen read the names, all 47. While the crew stood at attention with tears on their faces, afterward the council speaker approached. The crystalline being seemed different, humbled somehow. "Captain Rivers, the council formally apologizes for dismissing your offer of assistance. We were wrong. Your actions have given us hope that the hive can be resisted." "Hope doesn't bring back my crew," Owen said flatly. "No," the speaker agreed. "But their sacrifice may save millions. The hive has withdrawn from 4 occupied systems. Our intelligence suggests they are recalculating their entire expansion strategy. They fear the cost of facing more ships like yours." Owen looked out at the stars. "There won't be more ships like mine. But there will be more crews who've learned what we learned. That's the real victory. The data we transmitted, the tactics we proved work. That survives even if we didn't." 6 months passed. The Defiant was repaired, upgraded, redesigned based on battle data. But Owen requested transfer to a teaching position. He couldn't command a warship anymore, not after losing 47 people. Instead, he taught tactics at the Naval Academy, making sure every new captain understood the lessons paid for in blood. Diana took command of the Defiant. Thomas stayed on as chief engineer. Together with a new crew, they patrolled the borders of human space. Ready but hoping they'd never need to prove themselves again, the Hive Collective continued to exist. Continued to expand, but never again toward human territory. Their calculations showed that humans fought with an unpredictability that made conquest mathematically inefficient. Better to find softer targets. Other species noticed. Galactic military doctrine began to shift. Instead of massing for conventional battles, fleets adopted human guerrilla tactics. Small ships, adaptive weapons, willingness to make the enemy pay for every victory. The Hive's expansion slowed, then stopped. For the first time in 300 years, the unstoppable tide had been contained not by superior force, but by making the cost of conquest exceed the value of the prize. In her research lab, Dr. Amara West compiled the final report on the Battle of Threshold Nebula. She included every tactical detail, every adaptation, every cost and consequence. The document became required reading at military academies. Across 40 species, she ended the report with a quote from Captain Owen Rivers. Spoken during one of their many conversations after the battle, "We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we were willing to make them question if winning was worth it." That's the lesson. Sometimes survival isn't about having the biggest gun. It's about being too much trouble to kill. Owen Rivers retired after 5 years of teaching. He moved to a quiet colony world, far from battles and warfare. Sometimes at night he looked up at the stars and thought about the 47 crew members who never got to retire, never got to see the peace their sacrifice had helped create. He carried their names with him always. The price of victory was measured not in ships destroyed or territory gained, but in the people who gave everything so others could live. The Defiant continued its patrols, a symbol of what one crew could accomplish when they refused to accept the impossible. And across human space, new ships were built not to conquer, but to protect. Each one carried the lesson learned in the Threshold Nebula: make them bleed, make them calculate, make them realize that some fights cost more than they're worth. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not superior weapons or overwhelming force, but the stubborn refusal to make conquest easy. And the Hive, for all its power and perfection, had learned to fear that stubbornness more than any weapon.